All right, good afternoon. Well, I know this is the last session, so we try to make it as pleasant as possible. I'm all excited. I got a hashtag now, apparently. It's Ask Dirk, so I can open up an advice column. Ask me whatever you want. All right, so I'm the CEO of Hyperloop Transportation Technologies, and, well, we are building the Hyperloop. Do you see the slides anywhere? There you go. So traveling at the speed of sound. Sounds amazing, doesn't it? I think it is. But what is a Hyperloop actually? Who here knows what the Hyperloop is? Right? I'm going to question you guys afterwards. For everybody else, we have a little video here that shows a little bit how it all started, where we are right now, and where we're going. So enjoy.
America's always been a nation of doers. We build things, we take risks, and we believe that if you have a good idea and are willing to work hard enough, you can turn that idea into a successful business.
Billionaire philanthropist Elon Musk has hinted at a new high-speed transport system that could put planes and trains out of business.
I have a name for it, which is called the Hyperloop.
So what's Hyperloop? Mr. Musk's plan: move people using a massive vacuum tube combined with a magnetic levitation system. Kind of like a Jetsons tunnel?
It's something like that, yeah.
Here's how he teased the idea in May at an All Things D conference.
It's a cross between a Concorde and a railgun.
It's called the Hyperloop. It's a system of giant suspended tubes. Riding within are capsules carrying people or freight travelling on cushions of air at speeds of up to 1,200 k's per hour, or roughly 1 kilometre every 3 seconds.
A tube that would be on pillars from Los Angeles to San Francisco, and inside there would be capsule cars that would be rocketed forward up to 700 miles an hour, and that there would be a fan on the front. Elon Musk basically says that this is the way of the future.
How would you like something that can never crash? It is immune to weather. It goes 3 or 4 times faster than the sort of bullet train, and it would cost you much less than an air ticket.
It will only cost to build this $6 or $7 billion. Compare that to the $65 billion for the current high-speed rail plans for California. He believes this is a viable, valuable alternative for mass transit between these 2 destinations.
Could something like the Hyperloop actually be the answer to super-fast, environmentally friendly, high-speed travel between our busiest cities? So the gauntlet has been thrown down. A design document for a whole new, super-cool way to travel. The only thing now, will someone pick it up and make the Hyperloop a reality?
There are some companies that are forming to try to make the Hyperloop happen, and I encourage them. I think that's great. I'm super focused on Tesla and SpaceX, and to a small amount on Solar City, so that basically completely uses up my brain.
Tesla founder Elon Musk proposed this new technology called Hyperloop, and it's being developed right now in Playa Vista, here in this hangar behind me.
The only resistance would be the air in front of the capsule, which we move to the back by using a compressor.
Company Hyperloop has teamed up with the students to create this tube technology that's designed to connect cities up to 400 miles apart.
Dirk Ahlborn says it's safer and more efficient than the railroad.
Well, the system is completely computerized. So you optimize the system, and then you actually have the humans to monitor it. In railroads, most accidents were all human factors. Plus, a lot of the derailments are actually happened because something's on the track. So we're in a closed system. We're completely managed by a computer system. There's no human factor that can actually create those issues. We actually plan on seeing the first Hyperloop very, very soon starting.
Can you imagine and walk us through what it might be like to travel at the speed of sound?
It's not going to be much different than sitting in an airplane, actually. Obviously, for us, it's very important to make it as good of an experience as possible. So
here at the World Economic Forum with Bebop Gresta, the Deputy Chairman and COO of Hyperloop.
So when Elon published the document, he just drafted a possible way to achieve this. 2 months later, my business partner, Dirk Ahlborn, took this document, published in our website, and did a call to action. You know, there were people from, NASA, Tesla, SpaceX, Boeing, MIT. And right now we have 520 people working from 42 countries.
The race is on. Elon Musk's vision for a high-speed passenger pods known as the Hyperloop is one step closer to becoming reality this morning. One of the known companies competing to capitalize on Musk's proposal, announcing today it has struck a deal with landowners in Central California to build the first full-scale Hyperloop along a 5-mile stretch along I-5, with construction set to begin in 2016.
Let's bring in Dirk Ahlborn, who is the man who runs the Hyperloop Transportation Technologies team, which is announcing this deal with Quay Valley, California. Dirk, tell me about this deal and really when you expect this Hyperloop, this 5-mile stretch, to be finished.
Quay Valley is supposed to be breaking ground beginning of 2016. That's when we will be start working on our development. So we will be starting ground at the same time. At this moment, we expect to be done by 2018.
Starting next year, that theory will turn into a groundbreaking in Quay Valley, Kings County off of I-5. A developer there has just committed a big chunk of his private land toward the project. It's a 5-mile loop that would take visitors through a planned entertainment district.
Construction will start this year. We filed the permits depending on the county. We are expecting mid-year to be able to break ground. At this moment, we expect to be done by 2018. There's going to be a test track. Elon Musk has announced that he's going to build a small-scale test track. It's a necessary step for us to be building a full-scale version, and Quay Valley is a sustainable model town of the 21st century, so it's a perfect fit. They're expecting over 10 million visitors per year, so we will actually be able to generate revenues very, very fast.
Will the Hyperloop kill the railroad?
The Hyperloop is going to do to the US what the railroads did in the 1800s. So it will change the way we live. It's possible today, it's based on existing technologies, and it's the right time, it's the right moment to finally get something doing like this.
Is it visionary? In 30 years' time, will you and I be sitting on our rocking chairs going, well, we talked about it then, and he did it?
So you think this is possible? This is not just...
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely, yeah.
For all those who said this is just a neat little thing to draw on a cocktail napkin, these guys are saying it will become reality.
All right. So those were basically 2.5 years put together in, I think, 5 minutes. There's actually one piece missing. We just announced something, but we'll get to that later on. I just want to make sure you guys can see. There you go. Nope. Here. All right, so to reiterate, what is a Hyperloop? Imagine a capsule filled with people, okay, hovering inside a tube and moving really, really fast from point A to point B. Inside this tube, we create a low-pressure environment so that the capsule, very similar to an airplane, that goes into high altitudes, can travel very fast with very little energy because it doesn't encounter any resistance. The whole system is completely green. It's powered by solar, wind, kinetic energy through regenerative braking, and in some cases, even geothermal. This is very important because we produce actually more energy than we're using, which brings our operational cost to very, very low and makes us actually become a business. The system is on pylons, which means that we don't have to buy all the land, right? So it reduces the land acquisition cost. We only have to buy the ground of the pylons. Well, it also allows us to integrate the latest earthquake technology. Already back in the 70s, actually, we built pipelines back up there in Alaska that withstand earthquakes that were basically 8.0 on the Richter scale. So that was 50 years ago. Today, we can do even a little bit better. Sorry. Well, this picture, when they cut through the land normally, right, And when they build a train, when they build a freeway, well, they don't care if you have to get on the other side. You have to figure it out. Or they tell you, well, switch with your neighbors. Well, neighbors a lot of the times don't really get along, right? So those are problems that you solve by doing it on the pylons. Capacity is something that comes up often as a question. So this is a very early design, but I think it shows it very well, how we can over-engineer the pylons to just add on tubes. Remember, this is a business, so running out of capacity for us is actually a really great thing. But with one tube, we can actually substitute air travel between Los Angeles to San Francisco, for example, 5 times. The problem is that we don't know how do we change. Are we going to travel much more? Are we going to go just for lunch? We assume so we got to be ready. So why should we actually do this? This is why. Traffic, right? Traffic is one of the biggest problems that we have. We sit in traffic, waste valuable time we could be productive, time that we could spend with our loved ones. And, you know, today traffic influences our lives way more because based on where we live, we decide where we work. We decide who we date, because if she lives on the other side of the city, no way that this is going to work out. This is another reason. Beijing on a sunny day. On a bad day, you actually don't see the hand in front of your face. But, you know, Beijing has 50 million people. But it's not only a problem that we're having in China or in India. Actually, all over the world, even in North America. On average, we are dying 14 months before we should, just thanks to pollution. So we need to move over to, I would say, a more sustainable mode of transportation and do a lot of other things. But yeah, I would like to be a little bit more around. Well, this is another one. I think traveling sucks. I think nobody really enjoys to travel. I actually travel quite often, unfortunately. I mean, you don't look forward to taking a plane, right? You look forward to arrive. Why do you have to wait for your luggage not knowing if it gets there? I mean, they're already handling your luggage for hours. So all this can be changed. We can disrupt all this. So our goal is to make travel suck less. The train industry is a dinosaur industry. It's old. I'll show you how old. So, you know, obviously there's high-speed trains. There's a lot to be said about the evolvement of high-speed transportation. They're very expensive, and the Hyperloop can be a good alternative. Sorry, guys, it's just. So this is a track. Anybody here know what determines the distance of the track? No? So it's 4 feet, 8.5. Nobody? There you go. The Roman carriage, the butt of the horses, basically. Exactly. So still today, that's how we build our railways. The railways industry hasn't innovated for almost 100 years. If we would make them a little bit larger, we would actually have less accidents. We could go much faster, move more goods, have safer trains. Some countries actually have implemented them. So the latest development, the latest innovation was maglev in the 1930s in Germany. They did the first functioning one in the 70s. Since then, not much really has happened. But there's a bigger problem. Actually, there's no railway in the world, no metro system in the world that's profitable. They're all heavily relying on public subsidies, on tax money. So as an example, the LA Metro makes 76 cents per passenger. And $2.50 are coming from taxpayers. So we are a business, right? We want to make this work, and there are many, many ways that you can make that work. I think that most of the entrepreneurs here probably have some ideas on how to make this work. Sorry, guys, I apologize. Well, so how would our life be if there would be a Hyperloop? Well, cities would shrink. You would travel for 5 hours, Los Angeles to San Francisco, as an example, reduced to 36 minutes. You could go up, come back the same day without losing half a day. Airports are overflowing. We would just put them together, connect them with a Hyperloop. Now, a single airport actually would become a terminal, right? Ports are a big problem, or actually are occupying a lot of very valuable real estate. If we look at the Los Angeles port, for example, I mean, that's really great real estate right in front of the water. So with a Hyperloop, you could actually build offshore platforms that makes the ships dock on the water and then get it directly into the Hyperloop in order to bring it inside. We could live in satellite cities 100 miles away, but still be within 10 minutes inside the city center. Big opportunity for real estate, of course, because just the difference in land value already pays for the building of the Hyperloop. But how are we actually going to do this? Well, it's not as difficult as you would think. So if you would take a normal train and you would put this train inside a tube, and now you would take all the air out, I mean a very large tube, take all the air out, this train now could go much, much faster, just like the Hyperloop. So all we are doing is actually optimizing, making the train smaller, make it become a capsule, make the structure smaller and easier to build, and everything renewable, using alternative energy so the energy balance actually works out. We know we can build pylons, we know we can build tubes, right? We've done this for many years. So this technology is actually existing. This is a Hadron Collider. The guys who did the Hadron Collider, the vacuum, actually are part of our team. So we know we can create a vacuum inside a tube. Up in CERN, in Switzerland. One important part is also development of alternative energy. Over the last couple of years, just similar to silicon chips, the development of solar panels, solar energy, alternative energy, actually it has become more and more cheaper to use alternative energy. So the balance is only going to look better over the next couple of years. But this is the part I'm personally most passionate about, because we're using a completely different model here. We have invented a different way of building a company. So I'm sure most of you know these companies, or some actually might not. They all have something in common. Nope. They're all failures. So BlackBerry, I know, still around, might still have a chance, but for me right now, they're on here. Then there's these companies. They all have something in common as well. All of these companies, actually, at one point of the history, were in trouble and switched over to something, integrating something into the business model called crowdsourcing. Some of these companies have more than 50% of their innovation coming from the outside. So we're doing something that we call crowdstorming. Normally, you see, when there's a train or a project like this being built, it's done behind closed doors in a boardroom. You don't know about it. Maybe you hear they're planning on doing something like this, but that's it. So in our case, we want to, crowdstorm with the community. want to ask questions. People can join the team. They can tell us their ideas, their opinions. And it's this asking the question that makes a difference. So we ask things like, do we need a ticket? And not only do we need a paper ticket, but is a ticket the best way to monetize? Because if I can find a better way to make money, the more the passenger rides, then a ticket actually becomes negative, right? Then I use a ticket only to regulate demand. Just like when I was a kid, I bought video games. They were super expensive. Today, they're free. But video game companies are actually making way more money than before. Or Google and Facebook, which are giving huge infrastructures for free, but are two of the most profitable companies in the world. So it's about figuring out that business model. Or things like, what are we going to do with the pylons? There's billions of dollars that we're going to spend on pylons. And people just accept that those pylons are just standing there. So, but now if I tell you, here are 200 pylons, what are you going to do with it? And you start thinking. And some crazy ideas come, and some great ideas come, and things like, well, let's do beehives. Let's use them as vertical gardens. Or actually, something we're working on is we are able to produce water out of the air by using the same system, just by using the air humidity. The same elements that we're already using inside the Hyperloop. So those things really make a difference. So Elon presented this project back in August of 2013. I was part of a nonprofit incubator that was funded by NASA at that time. And we were trying to find a new way of building companies. We were trying to help and build what we call the crowd-powered incubator. So you see, we're basically doing everything online, right? You can get your dry cleaning. You can buy your groceries online. You can get your boyfriend, girlfriend online. Now you can even get divorced online. But when it comes to building a company, it's you with a friend and a beer in a bar, right? And you start writing down on a napkin, and you start working. And 6 months in, you realize that nobody else actually thought that had that problem, or nobody wanted your product. Or maybe advertising wasn't the best way of making money. But if you would have 500,000 people passionate about the same things you are, you could build a better company, right? They would give you their honest opinions, they would give you their ideas, their connections, help you with tasks. And believe me, those people are out there. Everybody of you who's an entrepreneur, who's building something, there's other people that are doing more or less the same thing or that love that area. So those people can be motivated and can help you building your business. So we basically, when Elon said that he didn't want to do it because he was busy with Tesla and SpaceX, we thought this is a perfect project for the platform and reached out, got the permission to put it onto the platform. Our community voted. And not only did they say, yes, you guys should do this, but they said, hey, I want to do this. I want to be part of this. So we incorporated the company, got a small team together, and then said, everybody who would like to work on this in exchange for stock options with a minimum of 10 hours per week, please apply. We got more than 200 applications, got a team together of around 100 engineers, and started working on the feasibility study. We finished the feasibility study at the end of 2014. And obviously, after we said, no, this is doable, there's a lot of other companies out there that are trying to do the same thing. Why am I telling you this? Well, if you want to join us, I want you to join the right company. But this concept is nothing new. The Hyperloop. I mean, Elon actually didn't really invent anything. Already in 1870, in New York, there was a pneumatic subway functioning. before the New York Metro. In 1904, there was the first patent, which was done by Robert Goddard. Sorry, guys. Technology doesn't always work. There you go. So the first patent was already back in 1904, Robert Goddard. There were several attempts by different governments. In 1969, for example, the Secretary of Transportation of the US was quoted in Popular Science saying that tube travel will change completely the way America will live and function. So they had actually 2 different projects that they were working on, doing some prototypes already back then. Well, see if we can. There you go. Well, I guess everybody knows that, right? That was there as well. These guys had the same idea. And in between was actually another one in Switzerland. There was an effort called Swiss Metro, where they were building a train inside a tunnel in a low pressure and vacuum. So all of these efforts didn't make it. But the reason why they didn't make it was that they were tied to a country. If you want to do something like this in America, it's going to take you 20 years. If you're tied to Switzerland, same thing. Governments change, budget change, you might be supported, you might not. So we are not a company, we are a movement. We have people all around the world that are part of this. We have people in India, in China, in Europe. We have more than 520 top people and several very large companies. I think we have some of the largest companies in the world as part of our team. We have AECOM, we have Oerlikon, the inventor of the vacuum pump, as part of our team, working in exchange for stock options. We get, on average, 5 new applications a day. And these people are highly motivated. So here's some of those applications. So obviously those are just a couple, right? But believe me, the people that send us emails are super passionate and would love to work with all of them, but we try. You know, something like this has never been done. So obviously we're not perfect, we're getting there, but I can tell you that this model really works amazingly. You know, passion really makes a difference. If you work with people that are passionate about the same things you are, you know, they can drive you forward. As I said, we work with universities, we work with big companies, we have sponsorships from Microsoft to Amazon, Autodesk. I think we work with 10 different universities all around the globe. It's really amazing, and everybody is super passionate. I'm actually the person that, you know, as an entrepreneur, I think everybody here knows it. You have good and bad days. So when you're down, they're there to help you and push through. But how will it be to be on the Hyperloop? Well, there's a couple of things that we have to solve besides having just a capsule inside a tube, right? It has to be as easy as pushing a button and a self-driving car and Uber comes and picks you up. So you have to solve the first and last mile. Because if it takes you an hour and a half to get to the station, you haven't solved anything, right? Then you're not going to use it every day several times. So we're working on all those aspects, making it simple, getting all those different elements together, working together. So if any of you have any ideas, we'd love to hear them. We talk about passenger experience, for example, a big and important part. So the Hyperloop doesn't have windows. So how will it be? Well, we actually have a whole team that's working on some really pretty amazing stuff, and this is the first time that this is shown. Maybe it's shown. There you go. So what we're doing there is basically we're using screens. And these screens use head tracking to see where you're looking. And based on your position, we're actually manipulating the image so that you have the same feeling as looking outside of a window. And we're working on ways that actually multiple people can be looking outside of the same window. So why should you do this? Well, first of all, it's psychologically, I think, really important and great to have the possibility to look out of the window, but it's an experience, right? Imagine inside the Hyperloop, but even imagine inside a metro system. You now can be in a virtual environment and travel through Jurassic World, Terminator Land, and yeah, maybe your trip is sponsored by those companies through the advertising, going back to the monetization strategy. So all those things are things that we are working on besides just moving a capsule inside a tube, because if you have an airplane, you don't have an airline, right? So any of you guys is passionate about these things, let us know. All right, now the fun part, I guess. So since we started, we heard a lot of critics. And at the beginning, we didn't know, is this possible? We're just a bunch of people that thought, hey, yeah, it seems logical that this should work. Everybody I've talked to, every scientist said, yeah, in theory, you can do this. So we started out without really caring what anybody said and worked on this feasibility study. But even after that, there were always questions that came up, or things that people said. And we like that, actually. So anybody who has a doubt, ask Dirk, right? Because those are the things that make us work better. We can check, is this something we have already looked at, or is this something new? This is how we work. This is the best thing that can happen to us. But obviously, we also, certain things don't really make sense. Cost is always something that's actually criticized. Well, just the tube, which is actually the most expensive part, and we have a very dumb infrastructure because all the technology is inside the pod, we're at $2,000 per meter, which makes us 3.2 million a mile, right? We expect to cost around 20 million, so you can see there's a lot of space in there. And we have actually, for all the parts, already offers from our suppliers. We know how much the stuff costs. So, you know, I think that's pretty logical. When you work two and a half years, that's actually very simple and to check those things. Vacuum. I was surprised. This was actually something that came up in a Wall Street Journal article. So we have the inventor of the vacuum pump, but apparently someone else knows better than them how much it costs to build and maintain a vacuum. So that was very interesting. So in general, acquisition costs were around $200,000 per mile, and that's basically nothing. And maintenance and maintaining the vacuum is very little in terms of energy consumption. Well, this is probably the thing that we hear most often. It's impossible to do this. People are like, where do you get the right of way? Well, first of all, every highway, every train has the same problem. They have to acquire the right of way too. So I don't understand why this is a problem for us. But actually, you know, when we started, we got the right of way. I mean, we had, I think, 5 or 6 people that came to us and said, hey, you want to build a Hyperloop? How about you build it here? We choose Quay Valley. Why Quay Valley? Well, Quay Valley, first of all, it's 3 hours from where I live, so I can drive up there. But it's also historically, it's next to the I-5, so when you drive up from LA to San Francisco, you can actually see it on the side. We'll be starting middle of the year with building. But it's also a model town of the 21st century. It's completely solar powered. It's cutting edge technology. It's completely green. It's, yeah, as I said, a model town of the 21st century. This is how cities should be. But it also has an entertainment district. So it has 3 resorts, it has a theme park, a big shopping component. So we actually will be moving 10 million people around there and hopefully make some money. Let's see what the next one is. There you go. Or someone says, you can't file permits in a city that doesn't exist yet. Well, there you go. You can. We're actually separated from the city anyway, so. But yeah, someone said, oh yeah, you guys, I mean, crowdsourcing, open sourcing, they'll be great interns in there for us. Well, one of the things I'm really proud of is all the amazing people that we have. I mean, 520 people in some of the largest companies in the world, and these are not interns. Yes, we have students, and that's great, but we also have scientists that have been part of the Apollo mission, the Manhattan Project, working together with people that just came out of university. There's a knowledge transfer that's happening there. It's amazing. And, you know, well, here's some of them. They're coming, I promise. There you go.
I'm responsible for business development at Lifeboat Vacuum. I'm an educated economist.
I've been working in solar energy for 15 years now.
Program management, project management, and predominantly advisory for the Department of Defense.
I come out of the music industry, kind of mostly known as a saxophone player with Pink Floyd.
I currently teach at the University of Southern California.
I wrote a book about augmented reality for marketing and PR.
1 year at CERN and 3 months at Spotify. And right now I'm working at Facebook.
I work as a localization project manager.
I'm an Emmy Award-winning producer, editor, director.
I'll be interning with Tesla Motors for the Thermal and Aero team next semester.
I work as a product manager at Sxsw Systems.
All of my work is in the commercialization of innovation.
I'm a product manager at the Walt Disney Company.
I own a firm called Open Plan Consultants in Denver.
I currently own and operate my own private legal and business development consulting firm.
I am currently employed by Apple.
I've got over 40 years in surface transportation.
I'm currently a test engineer at SpaceX.
I'm currently the Chief Strategy Officer for Avetta Global.
We are the Hyperloop!
We are the Hyperloop.
We are the Hyperloop.
So I think those are not interns, right? And obviously there are many, many more like that. We really have amazing people. Well, so the next thing was that, well, this is open source, which is not, right? It's a new model using open source methods to build a commercial viable company. So we're using crowdsourcing, that's right. But so are governments actually going to sit down with us? Well, over the last 2.5 years, we met governors, excellencies, ministers, princes, kings. And some of you might know, we just signed with Slovakia actually this week. Yeah. So I would say that's out of the way as well. Well, power of the crowd is great. Great to do programs, Linux, but we're talking about hardware. Well, we don't agree. Our people can build vacuum pumps. Work in the lab and do prototypes. And many other things, and believe me. Do VR, set up server rooms. We have whole teams of programmers. This is just not, there you go. So, we can weld. Oops, we missed one person. The guy you saw before, very briefly, is actually, well, he's a famous music composer, won plenty gold and platinum records. As you've seen, we have someone from Pink Floyd on the team as well. So this is the #1 band, R&B band on YouTube. I'm here. And, well, just like everybody else, they want to help and make this happen. I think this is a motto that I wanted to give this talk, because I think everything is possible. What it takes is many passionate people, and you can achieve great things. And I think that I'm really excited, obviously, about the Hyperloop, but I also think that this model can change the way we build companies and we solve problems. So, by the way, this is a song. Somewhere here is a song. The Hyperloop song. All right, so now, again, remember my advice column that I'm going to open? Ask Dirk. So I guess it's time for the Q&A. We have here, are you seeing deep interest from airlines, et cetera, wanting to disrupt themselves? Yes, we're actually working with several airline companies right now. As I said, it's all about how do we fix transportation? How do we get transportation solved? And it's about connecting all of them. So it's the first and the last mile issue. How do you get somewhere? You use the Hyperloop to the airport, and obviously airlines want to get that experience, maintain that experience, and better that experience. Emily. High-speed rail in the US as opposed to other countries. Well, high-speed rail for me is another subject, but for us, when we talk about the Hyperloop, is the land rights issues in America are very challenging. It's difficult. There's California is a sue-me state. Things get delayed. It's very difficult to get people all together in one. There's in other countries we might. It's easier to do, let's put it this way. Do you foresee the cost of a Hyperloop ride to be on par with the cost of an airplane ticket, the cost of a subway ride, or free? So, as I said, it's all about the business model. And the Hyperloop works as a local transportation system as well as an intercity transportation system. So when we talk about intercity modes, as I said earlier, LA to San Francisco, you are at a $30 price ticket, and then we're profitable, so we have recovered our initial cost after 8 years. Inside the city, I think that, we are cheaper than a subway, of course, but it's really figuring out what is your business model. So, it's not about free, but it's about what are you paying money, or are you giving something else? What is your opinion of the various other Hyperloop efforts underway at the moment? I think it's great. We started, as I said earlier, back in 2013. Nobody was talking about the Hyperloop. There was an article in 2014 in August that said the Hyperloop's dead. Nobody was working on it. So we said, hey, we are still here, but we don't have an update yet. And so, as I said earlier, it takes a movement. So the more people are working on this, the more real it becomes. And we don't want to be the only ones sitting down with regulators. The markets are big enough. There's efforts in other countries. I mean, this means that it's happening. Were any of the companies, industries that wanted to get involved in the creation of the Hyperloop surprising or unexpected? Well, I think they're always unexpected, right? When you talk to someone and they say, hey, we want to change the world with you. We work with really large companies. Some of them we can't even mention. But yeah, it's great. When you build a business, I think you should always do things that are impossible enough to be possible. Right? Things that have a wow factor, and so people can get excited. Do you have an estimate on when the first Hyperloop might be completed? So Quay Valley has a completion date of the end of 2018, beginning of 2019. And Slovakia, we're aiming at 2020. And then from there, hopefully, if Austria and Hungary agree, we will go from Bratislava to Vienna and from Bratislava to Budapest. And at this time, we are discussing with, as I said, 20 other city pairs all around the world. So we'll see many more Hyperloops coming. The Hyperloop has a lot of buzz. But for other orgs that want to crowdsource, how do they get the word out and motivate interest? I mean, so we're building this platform, and we are bootstrapping, if you want so, to give the tools to build a platform that has everything that we know we need, because we see now what works, what doesn't work. We have done a lot of things that didn't work, but overall, it's amazing. And you don't necessarily have to have or want to have 5 new applications every single day. I mean, we're at a scale right now where this is a huge organization. If you have 10 people that are passionate about what you're doing, that's already a big help. If you have 50, and you start with the people around you, word spread. Obviously, you use just like, it's basically the same thing like getting Facebook likes, right? But you're using those people actually to do something rather than just being there. What about security? Will checking into the Hyperloop be more like a train or a plane? How will you keep the infrastructure safe? So we actually have an anti-terror team that's looking at all of these things to make the structures as safe as possible. I mean, In general, we are similar to a subway, if you want. So actually, you wouldn't do more damage in a subway than you would do in a Hyperloop. But nevertheless, we want to make it the safest and most secure place possible. So, you know, the things on the airplane where everybody goes and has to do this, they actually don't work. People think they work. But there's plenty of videos on YouTube you can see where people get by with everything they want. It's more about the perception. We need to feel secure, right? You can fly an airplane into the building. You can't fly a Hyperloop into anything. So that's a big difference. But there's a lot of very effective technology that can be done in a way that you don't feel like getting raped, basically. Can the augmented windows show simulated environments, i.e. space, underwater, etc.? Yes, exactly. So that's exactly what it is. It's a new form of entertainment that might be branded, that we can use to monetize by giving a great experience. And I think there's a lot of other applications where I can see them. How much would San Francisco LAX round trip cost via Hyperloop? $60, and we are profitable in 8 years. If it's paid by the government, probably much, much less in terms of the infrastructure. Let's see, more. Once you've built Hyperloops in other countries, who will run them? So the way this works is actually, it's not that we are building Hyperloops everywhere and then operating them. There's existing infrastructure, there's existing companies. We are not a competitor, for example, for the high-speed rail. We are a technology provider. We give solutions. There's problems in public transportation today, and we're trying to solve those. So high-speed internet on fast-moving objects, for example, something we're working on. As you've seen, the augmented windows, monetization, first, last mile, all those things are things that we are working on already with transportation companies. And the Hyperloop is just the next step. It's basically the perfect product. Are you discussing with Paris? Well, we don't talk about we can't talk about who we are in negotiations with, but there's a couple of interesting projects in Paris. They're building a connector. Will international travel on the Hyperloop be possible? Is it something being worked on currently? I wish that we've already been working on. I can see it somewhere in the future. Right now, it's the perfect thing for intercity connections. There's actually a company that has just joined the team that could make those things happen, so we'll see. Amazing team, but what's the relationship like with their full-time employer? What if you're in competition with them? So normally they ask the employers, and many of the employers actually are fine with it. I met the CTO of Airbus, and he actually knew that we had people from their company on as part of our team. So obviously that's, you don't want to do anything that's, but the easier thing is talk to your employer and bring the whole company. Which collaboration platform approach do you utilize to facilitate working with 520 part-time contributors of HTT? So we have been trying out a lot of different things. Many things went even through email, and they have conference calls regularly. We're beta testing Facebook at work right now. Some teams use Slack, some teams use Google. So we really tried everything and trying to figure out what is the best way possible. As I said, we don't have the answers. We're still learning, and we're building the tools necessary and partner with them to make this, to figure out what is the easiest. Because we don't want to stay 520. We have more than 1,000 people that are just waiting and would like to work with us. So that's what we're working on as well. Will you have Wi-Fi available on board? Yes. So no, it's not. It's actually not a stupid question, because at 1,200 kilometers, 760 miles per hour, having internet connection is actually not that easy. There is some solutions that we are working on. We have a whole team in the communication part. We're working on Li-Fi. We're working on laser communication. But it's actually it's a very valid question. Can you describe the g-force in a Hollow loop trip, Hyperloop, I guess, and in the curve? So everybody always thinks of speed when they think about the Hyperloop. That's one thing. The other thing that it makes business sense, and I'm actually more excited about that because imagine there's no rail line in the whole world that makes business sense. So if now you build something that actually makes money, you will build it everywhere and it will have a better passenger experience. We will actually want to take it. So when it comes to g-forces, they are actually limited to the comfort. One of the most important things is that the Hyperloop is being used by everybody, by a 2-year-old as much as an 80-year-old, right? So it has to be as comfortable as possible. It has to be, we just brake in front of a curve so you don't feel it. We actually can tilt the vessel. We are limited at 1 G in acceleration and deceleration. So it's similar to an airplane, similar to actually better than an airplane, similar to a car. So those were actually one of the most important things to make it. When we optimize the routes, we look at cost, speed, and comfort. And comfort is one of the biggest constraints. I guess those are the questions. Thank you, everybody.